It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome into the Sports Blitz on a Wednesday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Maddie Lassiter, here to bring you the latest in local, state, and national sports. Got a lot of stuff to talk about today. NBA draft lottery, the NBA playoffs. We got a little Donald Sterling as far as the NBA is concerned. Then we'll move on to some baseball. We've got the Razorback baseball team in the SEC tournament. Got a win yesterday. Going to first pitch around 12:30 today against Ole Miss in the SEC baseball tournament. We've got a lot of stuff today on the agenda. Weldon, we've got also local sports to talk about as the Cyclones, your Cyclones, going to state championship games in baseball and soccer,
right?
Boys soccer, and we've got a little bit of information about that.
Yeah, look forward to talking about the Russellville Cyclones. Baseball, good to see them back up. I said this on Wednesday. They had some young players. Good to see them kind of get back up into contention after struggling the last couple of seasons. And then in soccer, it's what we expect. Soccer is always competitive. Shout out to the Lady Cyclone soccer team. It came up just short, but we understand they're also contenders, as well as the Lady Cyclone softball team coming up just short, coming off their state title last year. So it's good. It's good to be a Russellville Cyclone. We know the student section will be live. We know they'll be excited for their championship opportunities.
You're going to go up to Fayetteville and get to be a part of that awesome weekend. We'll just start with local sports then real quickly, because the Cyclones are going to be sent off in style from Gardner Elementary School, the old Gardner School over there off Arkansas, 2:30 on Friday. We hope that as many folks as possible, we'll try to remember to announce this again, but we hope as many folks as possible will be able to get out there and see them off. Bring your signs, bring your posters, your well wishes, and come see them off. It's always fun when they get to do this, and I've been to several of them now. In the time I've been here, I've seen softball team sent off, the volleyball team, the girls basketball team. I've seen both soccer teams, and it will be the second time for the boys soccer team. That one year they had softball team and both soccer teams in the state championship games on the same weekend, and then I had Clarksville and Pottsville both also in championship games that weekend. So it was a fun weekend, but it's always a fun opportunity to get to go see a team off and see how, the game hadn't happened yet, so everybody's happy regardless of, we don't know the outcome. So it's
right.
just it's fun. They're happy. They get the sidewalk chalk, not the sidewalk chalk, the window chalk for their bus windows, and they're writing notes to the kids and stuff like that. So it's always a fun opportunity. If you've got the ability to get out there and wish them well, you should do that. It'll be a lot of fun. Also, 8 days to the Brightest Stars Banquet next Thursday. Got details ironed out yesterday as far as all the boring stuff, but we're working up some final details for the Brightest Stars Banquet. Want you to know that your tickets are still available, but I've got to give a head count to our caterer sometime early next week. So we're going to have tickets available at the door, $25 a pop. You can come in and watch 22 awards be given out. You can have these are for Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Assistant Coach of the Year, and a special scholarship that's funded by the Help Network. Lots of great stuff going on. Italian Gardens catering dinner. Aaron Peters is going to be our master of ceremonies. He's going to be speaking to us for a little bit about the importance of high school athletics. It's just going to be a really great environment, a really great event. Been trying my best to get with as many schools as I can and say, hey, are you guys good? You guys got folks, at least get the word out to them, and asking schools if they'll announce it, asking local businesses that have LED boards to run it on their board for us, and just do stuff like that to get the word out there. But I'm hoping that we'll have as many folks as we can there. But it's important that you, if you're going to buy a ticket and you know it, come buy the ticket, because I've got to give the caterer a heads up on roughly how many people. And I know this is going to sound bad, but I don't want to be paying for meals and nobody's going to eat.
A bunch of leftovers, yeah. I mean, look, yeah, you don't want a bunch of leftovers. Certainly understandable, Mark. The Brightest Stars Banquet is getting closer. I know some of the athletes are excited about it. Yeah, I'm excited about it. I'm trying to work some things to where I can be there. Tuesdays and Thursdays are kind of my travel days to go visit some high schools. So, it's going to be a great event nonetheless. We honored some really, really good athletes too. We just got finished talking about the state championships and what Russellville will be competing in, as well as some other schools. But it's been all year round. I mean, you just go back to football season, the teams that this area had in contention. Then you moved on the basketball floor, and then of course the spring sports. So a lot of great business owners will be there. Mark, I think you talked about that before. So it's a really great networking opportunity, as well as great for honoring these athletes and coaches.
Oh, it definitely is, and I've been trying my best to contain myself, not just tell people who the winners of these awards are, because man, it's just going to be really cool. You're not going to want to miss this. I was talking with some folks on Twitter. That's probably where Weldon got that information about Twitter. I got some athletes from around the area. I talked to Two Rivers athletes, Russellville, Pottsville, Dardanelle, Clarksville. So I'm trying my best to kind of get out there and let everybody know, hey, you probably want to come to the banquet. You're a finalist, and you got a good shot.
You might win.
And it's going to be a fun night. So that's May 29th, next Thursday at 6 o'clock at Russellville High School's cafeteria. We won't be in the Fine Arts building, the new Center for the Arts, because we're serving dinner, and Italian Gardens is catering that. So we're going to have the stage set up and all that in there in the cafeteria. Maddie's going to have a little presentation going. He's been working on it, and I've been looking at the way the production is going, and it's looking really, really cool. So it's going to be top notch, and we're going to look forward to meeting with as many of you as can possibly come. But it's going to be fun. May 29th, that's next Thursday. Also, let's see, is there anything else? Well, we've talked about the Cyclones. Can we just talk for a second about how the Cleveland Cavaliers keep winning this freaking NBA lottery? Because it drives me nuts. Like, 3 out of 4 years, the Cleveland Cavaliers win the lottery. This year they had, a 1% chance?
Yeah.
And they win the lottery? Like,
small chance.
That's just kind of ridiculous to me, and it's very curious that the team who – and I'm not one who's a conspiracy theorist by any stretch of the imagination normally. I'm not Corey Thone talking about how the 0-1 Sacramento Kings all took a dive except for Mike Bibby. He wouldn't take the money, and then they were supposed to lose on purpose. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
But – when you're the Cleveland Cavaliers, you see the Miami Heat playing the way they are, and Dwayne Wade's still well enough. Chris Bosh is sucking big ones right now, and LeBron James is the highest prize in all of basketball. And they're talking about LeBron James going back to Cleveland, going back home to finish his career. Where do I want to spend the twilight of my career? And then you got Kyrie Irving, and you think, man, LeBron should go play with Kyrie and get back with that team. And then last year, they get Bennett as the number 1 overall pick, a curious pick to say the least.
Yeah.
And then this year, they get the number 1 pick. So they could have Kyrie Irving, the number 1 pick from last year, and Andrew Wiggins or Jabari Parker or Joel Embiid on the same team. Cheap, obviously, because they're still on their first contracts.
Right.
And then go get LeBron James. Are you serious? That seems a little curious to me.
It does. It does seem strange. I mean, when they reveal the lottery on the lottery show they do, and obviously they'll reveal, I guess it's the top 11, and then they'll go to commercial with the top 3 standing up. And I'm saying, okay, Cleveland got lucky again. I even tweeted out, okay, Cleveland got lucky again. They're going to get another top 3 pick. I still didn't think there's a way they would get the number 1 pick, and then to see them actually be number 1 again was quite the surprise. I look at the LeBron James part of it, and Cleveland's got to be in consideration, because when you look at what LeBron James is going to be looking for as he tries to get that 4th, 5th ring and beyond, he's going to want a roster. And who else? There aren't many teams in the league who can take on his salary. Even though he's going to take less money, he's still going to command what a superstar commands. Plus, still have a roster intact that can really do anything. Cleveland, I would say they look a lot better than Miami right now, with a Chris Bosh who's overpaid and a Dwayne Wade whose knees you just don't know. I mean, and then look at what else Miami has. Certainly, Cleveland's more attractive. And then you look at what Cleveland can do with those assets. Some talk now about using the young players and the money to get Kevin Love and possibly have Kyrie and Love as an enticing aspect to bring LeBron. So many things can go on.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about Kevin Love. I just read something this morning from another source talking about how the Houston Rockets were going to try to get Kevin Love for Jeremy Lin, Chandler Parsons, and Omer Asik. Don't know why you would do that if you're the Timberwolves based on the pieces you're getting, but
yeah, I mean, that one's a hard one for me, just really for both teams. I guess for Houston, obviously it would make sense, but you would have to still try to fill some pieces around those guys who, some more athletes and defensive players, but still be a good trade. I think Minnesota, though, I think they're going to want at least some degree of promise, either a budding first or second year player or a high draft pick, just to try to bring back some hope of star power. I like those guys, especially Asik and Chandler Parsons, but to me, there's sort of pieces, like there's pieces to the puzzle. I think Cleveland's going to want, I think Minnesota's going to want some type of a star back for Kevin Love if they can get it. The owner's already come out and said, look, we're prepared for him to play the rest of the season. Obviously he's under contract next season, but I think right now is a good time to make the deal if you're going to, because teams have flexibility. Teams aren't as locked in on players and salary, and things can kind of happen. Yeah, you can still make a deadline deal, but I think it may kind of squeeze you out a little bit.
Do you want to let him walk and get nothing?
That's the question.
Or do you want to take what you can get? And I saw somebody say, "Oh, the Timberwolves haven't recovered yet from trading Kevin Garnett." Well, they could have got nothing for him.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's worth more.
Yeah.
Sometimes you let somebody walk and you have that money and you can do something else with it. But when you're the Minnesota Timberwolves, you don't really have that luxury.
Yeah, and look, that trade with the Boston Celtics, when you make a trade, when you're trading away a star player, you're bringing back young assets. You don't know how they're going to pan out. You just want to give yourself a chance as opposed to not have anything. Look, Al Jefferson, you can't really ask for much more than Al Jefferson. They got back in the deal. Was he the guy that took them to a championship level? No, but obviously he's a really good player who gave you at least the opportunity to be able to build around. It didn't quite work out, but, that package wasn't bad. Again, Al Jefferson right now is still one of the top big men in the game, so I don't look at it that way.
Well, let's take our first break. We've got a little NBA playoffs to hit as the Miami Heat evened up the Eastern Conference Finals last night, one game apiece against the Indiana Pacers. It was LeBron James and Dwayne Wade at the end of the game, just closing it out, locking it down. And Weldon had a good point before the show. That's what happens when you have two superstars to zero.
Yeah,
and you don't have the greatest role player in the history of the NBA in Paul George. So Miami was able to squeak one out. We'll talk about that. We'll preview Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, where Oklahoma City got smoked in Game 1. Got to try to come back in Game 2. Maddie gave me some interesting information we're going to look into.
Uh-oh.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out rivervalleyleader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Before we get back into the NBA, we're going to take a small, just a tiny step down to Arkansas Tech men's basketball, three-time defending GAC conference champs, who are looking for a basketball coach now. They got Michael Perry, they got Freddie Lee, they got Kendrick Lee, they got a squad returning, and Coach Doug Carlskent is not going to be one of them. He's accepted the job at Central Missouri. He is going to move on to coach the defending Division II national champion squad, replacing Anderson, who is going to the University of Missouri. And, you know, you can think of this in a couple of different ways. One is a lateral move from Division II to Division II, or you can think about this from the fact that he was at Arkansas Tech. He did a great job, and we're definitely going to miss him. And he's got an opportunity to go coach the defending national champs.
Yeah.
He, you know, for his career to step up and keep stepping up, and the fact that his family lives within an hour, like his extended family lives within an hour of the campus.
Yeah.
It's a huge, great opportunity for Coach Carlskent. Want to wish him congratulations and well wishes, because he's been an incredible coach for Arkansas Tech, an incredible run for Arkansas Tech, going from Coach Downey now through his tree into Coach Carlskent, and from what I'm hearing, the next guy in line is another one from the Downey tree. So we want to say congratulations to Coach Carlskent, and good luck there at Central Missouri, unless you're playing Tech.
So you got some intel on the next
I do.
Tech? Oh,
I do. I won't give that because I don't want to look like an idiot when it happens.
Because I was prepared to just throw some names. Yeah,
I'll go for it, because if you say the one, I'll be like, yep.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, I was going to throw out
I
some
asked some folks who may know. That's what I did.
Yeah. I know you got some connects in the basketball program. It'll probably be one of those guys. You know, Coach K did an outstanding job. I mean, going back to his time as an assistant coach, and then, of course, taking over for Coach Downey. I mean, the basketball program, and I've said this before, at Tech is just really, it's undergone a tremendous turnaround. I mean, it was a joke at one time. I'm just going to say it. You look at roughly 10 years ago or so, Arkansas Tech men's basketball was nothing more than an afterthought. Obviously, the Golden Suns could still draw a crowd, but when it came to men's basketball, there just wasn't anything going on whatsoever. Coach Downey, Coach K, that group turned it around. Now you expect championships year in and year out from Arkansas Tech. So we wish him the best. You know, he's replacing Kim Anderson, who is now the head coach of the Missouri Tigers. You know, it's interesting. We don't really look at Division. We kind of look at Division II as just being this huge conglomerate where like all the jobs are the same. You know, and because in Division I, we kind of see the stagger of, oh, this is a good D1 job, this is a good D2 job. So I think it's a little bit strange for us to sit and watch. Okay, you know, Tech to Central Missouri. I mean, yeah, they won the championship, but you know, isn't D2 all the same? And I guess there are some variances, but you know, I guess it would seem on the outside, and I don't know what the salaries are, but it's a similar job. You know,
well, yeah, it definitely is a similar job, but like you said, there are some inherent advantages to being close to home, coaching the defending national champ. He's a great recruiter. He's a great X's and O's coach. Now he's close to home with a team that's already ready-made. If he's talking about making another step eventually, you know, I assume that he wants to coach at a higher level. This is a good job for him to take that step up, and that's no slap on Arkansas Tech, because they're used to, like you said, they were way down here, and a job like Central Missouri would have been way up here,
right.
And now it's a lot closer. So if I'm Coach Carlskin, I'm happy with where I am in my career. If I'm Arkansas Tech, I'm happy for him because he did a great job in his time here, and you can't begrudge a man for trying to better himself in his career and get closer to his family. So, again, a big congratulations. Did you have any names? I mean, did you?
Well, no, I mean, I didn't really have any names. I didn't know if they were going to go on that route of promoting within the tree, or either somebody on staff or somebody who may have recently been on staff, or would they go with a high school, like a top flight high school. I mean, obviously with the search like Tech, there's a number of directions they could go. I didn't really have a feel for it, but it sounds like you got a good feel for it. I'm kind of sensing what you're thinking. Maybe not a name per se, but I'm kind of sensing the direction you're thinking.
All right, I'll just go ahead and do it. Okay.
All right.
I was talking with someone yesterday, and we were talking about the coaching tree of Coach Downey. Mm-hmm. And really, like Weldon said, Arkansas Tech was a joke before Coach Downey. The team he came in and coached the first year won like 9 games or something like that, if not less. I remember talking with Coach Garrett Hill from Pottsville. He played on that team, and he was just like, it was a mess. Every day, Coach Downey was having to threaten to fight somebody because it was just that. I mean, he had to get rid of players and go find guys like Renard Allen in the playground in Louisiana, who's 30 years old, and just plug holes.
Yeah,
he basically had to build the program from nowhere and nothing, and he did. Well, Coach Carlskin is from his tree, one of his top assistant coaches. And if what I'm hearing is correct, the next guy in line, unless they just find somebody better, is from the same tree. It's Coach Chad Klein, an assistant coach at Arkansas Tech right now. Now, don't go run with this as breaking news, but that's just what I've been hearing from folks who know things about basketball and coaching. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah,
if
he's
not the guy, no, it's not a report.
Yeah.
It's more of a rumor, but it's from folks who know what they're talking about. So if you want to continue on that tree and you want to go with guys who've been there and done that, Chad Klein from Arkansas Tech right now, an assistant coach, would do a good job. If they don't go with him, it's because they found somebody they believe to do a better job. So
yeah,
I expect Coach Mullins is going to do a good job and may talk with him about who they've got on their mind.
Yeah, Coach Klein would be a really good choice too. And I just wanted to make it clear so people wouldn't, take it as a report. It's just you using what your information and your sense and knowledge of the business and of the situation to make an educated idea of who the coach could be. So don't
it's
take
just what
this,
I'm hearing, not anything set in stone. The ink's not drying or anything like that. It's just what I've been hearing from some folks. So we'll see how that turns out. We'll see who Arkansas Tech hires to replace Coach Doug Carlskin. Congratulations, Coach. Appreciate your time here. Moving back on to the NBA. Today's CrossFit Russellville poll question is going to deal with the NBA draft lottery. I don't know if you're like me and you think it's kind of curious, or if you're more analytical about it and you're looking at who the Cleveland Cavaliers can get in this year's NBA draft. But the question is, which player should the Cleveland Cavaliers draft number 1 overall in this year's NBA draft? You can answer or ignore the second part of that question where I asked about who they're going to draft with the number 1 overall pick next year, because it's as big a friggin' joke as it is that they've had the pick 2 years in a row and 3 out of 4 years. I don't really care for that too much. But I'm just going to go ahead and say I think they should draft Andrew Wiggins just because there's so many unknowns about literally everyone else. Andrew Wiggins is kind of the guy that, as far as upside goes, if you stick any of the other ones up against Andrew Wiggins, the only one who compares is Embiid.
Yeah.
But he's got the back injury and ankle injury issues or knee or whatever it was. So you've got injury history in college. The last big man that had that kind of injury, we got to pay attention to this injury. It was a guy named Greg Oden, and we see how that turned out for him. I don't want to wish that on Joel Embiid, but I would be very leery of drafting him. And then Jabari Parker, we've already heard talk about how he weighs 10 to 15 pounds more than he ought to right now. That's a problem because I think he's very, very good. I also think his ceiling is lower than Andrew Wiggins. So why would you not go with a guy who is going to be ready-made to play right now? I know Jabari Parker can come in and score 18 to 20 points a game right now, but he's not Andrew Wiggins talent-wise as far as just athleticism and all that. So I would draft Andrew Wiggins. I know that it makes for an issue with the chemistry of the team. I'm not a big Deion Waiters fan, so I don't really care what he thinks about the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Kyrie Irving, Andrew Wiggins, And there you go, Mr. Waiters. We're gonna try to get a 3 in here in a couple in a summer or so that may or may not be the best player alive in LeBron James, and then look at the team you've got. So
Yeah.
Cleveland, if I'm Cleveland, I'm building a team that I can get LeBron back on, and whether or not it'll happen is just beyond me. But that's what I'm doing if I'm Cleveland. I'm drafting Andrew Wiggins.
It's tough. I mean, I know people say, "Well, look at these 3 players. You can't possibly mess it up." But you got to get the right fit, and you got to make the best evaluation you can make. Embiid, he's my guy, but the back issue is a concern. I think I look at Embiid and I see a guy who has a chance to be one of the all-time greats among big men, just what he brings to the table on the surface. But his back is an issue. You mentioned Greg Oden. I mean, obviously the list goes on. Sam Bowie and, Bill Walton was okay, but certainly not compared to what he was in college. And just, the list of big men who have struggled with injuries. And to me, Wiggins is interesting because I think he's a talented player. I like him. I want to see if he can take that next step. And if he can, he's clearly the guy, as far as his mentality. If you draft Andrew Wiggins, I think you have to say, I'm okay with this guy on his downside, kind of worst case scenario being Joe Johnson. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either, if at his worst he was a Joe Johnson type. Because I think if he doesn't live up to expectations, I think that's around the neighborhood he's going to be. But I think we also believe he can be a really good superstar, big-time elite player. I'm with you on Parker. If you had a team that just – or if you were a team that just were looking for a ready-made player, kind of a guy who can come in and play, the floor is not all the way down, but the ceiling's not all the way high, you could get him there. It's going to be interesting to see what Cleveland does, and not changing the topic too much, but just this whole draft, because I think there's talent throughout. People are feeling sorry for the Lakers and the Celtics, still think they can get a good player. Vonleh, Julius Randle's going to be in that neighborhood, Gary Harris, a Zach LaVine, who's a little more high risk, but a lot of those guys in that neighborhood.
Yeah, if I'm the Lakers, I would like to see a guy like Julius Randle fall to me. That would be nice. I'm a fan of his, so
me too. I like Julius Randle, and the thing with Randle is, people are saying, well, Vonleh is catching and passing him. Vonleh he's a little more lengthier, maybe a little bit more skilled, but I'm still with Julius Randle because I think he only showed you a little bit. I think open floor NBA game, he's coachable, physically gifted with his strength. I like Vonleh too, but I'm still giving Randle the edge.
Corey Williams answered our CrossFit Russellville poll question. He said, I've always rolled with Jabari, but I bet they take Embiid. As good as I think Embiid can be, injury concerns for him make it impossible for me to take him over Parker or Wiggins. I agree. He also missed games during the middle of the year due to knee and back soreness. We already know about his bad back that kept him out of the tourney. 2 names I can't help but laugh at in the lottery, Vonleh and Zach LaVine. Some smart team is going to have Napier land right into their lap in the mid to late first round.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's going to be some really good players fall in this draft. You look at a guy like a Jordan Clarkson from Missouri, 6'5" point guard, really good. He may not even go in the first round. Jordan Adams from UCLA, he's going to fall. Napier's going to fall. Elfrid Payton, who some people think can be the next Rondo from Lafayette, he's going to fall that mid to late first round. So a lot of good players throughout this draft.
Yep. All right, let's hit our break. When we get back, we've teased it enough. It's 2 segments of teasing. We're going to get to the NBA playoffs as we talk about the Miami Heat winning Game 2. LeBron James and Dwayne Wade come out in the fourth quarter and bring the Heat from behind against the Indiana Pacers. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I said this all year long and until about the middle of early last week that I was afraid of the Pacers. And I said earlier, nope, not afraid of them anymore. Yeah, I'm afraid of the Indiana Pacers.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the 4s.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
The Miami Heat
Heatles.
overcame a four-quarter deficit against the Indiana Pacers to win Game 2, pull even in that series. And we can release a big sigh of relief as Miami goes home with home court advantage now. That was a big game for the Heat because not only did they avoid going down 0-2 in Indiana, they stole home court advantage at the same time. If they can win games 3 and 4 at home, they're up 3-1 going back to Indiana. And then we're in a much different shape here as Miami would be up 3-1 after being afraid they were going to go down 0-2. So long story short, the Heat win 87-83 last night in an ugly game. LeBron James said it. This is the Eastern Conference. There's no pretty basketball. Dwayne Wade is the player of the game, if you ask me. 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and somebody asked him in the postgame, that maintenance plan, is it kind of working? And he said, yeah, sitting all those games has sort of helped Dwayne Wade to stay healthy toward the end of this season. He had 23 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. LeBron with 22, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks. It's hard for me now not to say that he's the player of the game, but he's kind of the player of the everything. So I'll just give Dwayne Wade his due. Congratulations to the Miami Heat. What did it take for the Heat to get this done, Weldon?
For me, it took LeBron James and Dwayne Wade being LeBron James and Dwayne Wade. That was a very ugly game that tilted towards the Pacers for most of the game. And then Miami would never get too far behind. And then they got to tie where they tied the game. Then they slowly took the lead and then went on from there. But that game was up for the taking. Indiana had a golden opportunity to be up 2-0. But Indiana does not have a superstar, and you cannot win a world championship if you don't have a superstar takeover player. I know people want to look at Detroit, but that Detroit team had so much chemistry. I'm talking about the 04 team. Had so much balance, so much chemistry. And Rasheed Wallace was a ball player. People may not give Sheed the credit, but I saw him play against Tim Duncan those few years. There was nothing Duncan could do at the peak of Duncan's career that Rasheed Wallace couldn't do. We may not acknowledge that, but for that window of time, Sheed was a baller. So back to my point of Indiana does not have a guy that can close a game. They hit a bunch of threes. They ran out on Miami in game 1. Really didn't have to close the deal. The Heat stars. That was the difference in the game. Indiana, whether they win this series or not, I last night locked it up in my mind because they played well last night. But if you don't have a closer, you can't win a ring. Can't do it.
They do have the greatest role player. Weldon's line about Paul George I thought was really funny. He was 1 of 11 in the first half, 4 of 16 overall. Great role player. At the end of the day, 12 points and 13 rebounds from Roy Hibbert, and the player of the game for the Indiana Pacers obviously was Lance Stevenson. 25 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds. He was the guy for Indiana that kept it close. He's going to be the guy. He and Paul George are going to be the guy who put the ball in the basket at the end of the game for those two if it happens. Lance Stevenson is, I've said it before the show, he's Ron Artest crazy. Like, crazy enough that he doesn't care.
Yeah,
he'll be the guy. If you want him to shoot that shot, he doesn't care. He doesn't. If you want him to run up in the stands and pummel someone, he wouldn't care to do that either. Stab you with the table leg. He's that kind of guy. But Lance Stevenson, I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him. When I said I was scared of the Indiana Pacers, here's why. They're the team that matches. It's a terrible matchup for the Miami Heat because everything Miami does is difficult one-on-one if they're not hitting threes. If they're hitting threes, they can beat anybody.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how you play or what you do because LeBron and D-Wade will get in, kick out, hit threes. But if they're not hitting threes, everything they do is difficult because it's LeBron and D-Wade one-on-one. Or it's Chris Bosh shooting a 20-footer. And it's not easy. But if the Indiana Pacers are having their way, they got Roy Hibbert, they got David West, and they're inside 10 feet. Or David West is about 15 feet. And it's just a lot easier.
Yeah.
So it's, to me, a troubling thing for Miami that they have not figured out Indiana when Atlanta did, Washington did, and they were able to take Indiana to the distance, but at the end of the day, Indiana doesn't have Dwayne Wade. They don't have LeBron James.
Yeah,
and that's your point.
And look, I agree with you as far as the physical matchup is very challenging for Miami. I saw the Pacers turn back into the Pacers late in that game. And as a basketball fan that wants to see great series and great competitiveness, it was a little bit disappointing to me to see this team just couldn't put the ball in the bucket when it needed to be put in. And you can, like I said, you can grind LeBron and Wade for a couple of games of series, maybe even 3 games, but I still think it's hard to beat them 4 out of 7 times trying to grind them out. But, I look at Lance Stevenson. You mentioned him. Lance Stevenson is like a less talented version of Russell Westbrook from his mentality. Like, everybody gave Westbrook credit for, oh, man, he hit those big free throws against the Clippers, those 3 big ones. That took a lot of guts. I said, Westbrook's crazy. When you're crazy, it's not about guts. You're not aware of the moment. You're shooting some free throws. That's, when you're kind of wired kind of off, that's how it goes. And Stevenson, obviously, he's not nearly as talented as Westbrook, but he's kind of wired. I mean, he don't care about LeBron and Wade in the moment. Like, I wish Paul George had a little bit of that crazy in him. Because Paul George, I joke calling him the best role player. We know he's talented. Paul George has superstar talent. It's just the mentality isn't always there. That's what I'm concerned about. But, Indiana, we pat them on the back. They played 2 great games, but the reality is they don't have home court advantage. Do I believe they can win in Miami? Sure. They're one of the few teams that I say, yeah, they can go down to Miami and get a victory, but really blew an opportunity in my opinion.
I want to look here in just a second at what both teams have to do from here on to win this series. But before I do, I want to look at one thing that I think is interesting. Game 2 was on Tuesday night. Game 3 is not till Saturday.
That's right.
That's a big break for the Miami Heat. Because you talk about a maintenance plan. Dwayne Wade's going to get to put his feet up for a couple days, and that's why he could go so hard in Game 2, and he'll be able to do the same thing in Game 3. But from there, Saturday is Game 3, Monday is Game 4, Wednesday is Game 5, Friday is Game 6, and Sunday is Game 7. So it's a day off between each game. Miami wants to try to step on the throat of Indiana in Game 3. Not that they weren't already going to try to do that, but they want to demoralize Indiana in Game 3. If you're Indiana, you have to win Game 3.
That's what I'm looking at both teams. Like, Game 3 is big because of that. If you're Indiana, you need to win that game. I also look Miami. You got the most rest Dwayne Wade is going to get. You can't waste a loss on the rested Dwayne Wade game. Yep. So I think Miami needs to win that. Obviously, whoever wins Game 3, there's so much heat on that losing team. Nobody wants to go down 3-1. So if Miami can win Game 3 at home, then you're looking at the possibility of going up 3-1 on your home floor. That's very advantageous. If you're the Pacers, you want to go down, try to seize momentum in that first road game, and then try to put that 3-1 possible pressure on the Heat in Game 4.
Then let's look at this real quickly. What does each team have to do to win the series? Indiana, if you're Indiana, you have to continue to pack the paint. You have to continue to score in the paint for sure. You've got to keep Roy Hibbert feeling good about himself because Lord knows we know what happens when he feels sorry for himself. He can just go sit on the bench for a whole game and not even care. But if he and David West can score inside, Miami really doesn't have any answer for that. They can start Udonis Haslem. Really, he should. I mean, if he's not hitting a 15-footer from the short corner, he's worthless. And he's 6 fouls. That's what he is. He's not even the scowl that Kendrick Perkins will give you. Chris Anderson, I love his effort and his heart and his tenacity, but he's 6'10" versus 7'2", and that's a loss. He's gonna get pushed around.
Birdman.
You don't need LeBron James guarding David West. He doesn't like it. You saw him last night. I thought it was weird. I don't think I've ever seen this. LeBron James guarding George Hill instead of Paul George or David West. It was like they were trying to arrest him, and they were getting away with it. If you're Indiana, you've got to punish Miami in your matchup advantages. If you're gonna have LeBron James guarding George Hill, Paul George is going nuts on somebody. That's just the way I'm doing it if I'm Indiana. Or Lance Stevenson is just demolishing Dwayne Wade too, by the way. You're going to have to make Miami pay for the disadvantages that they have offensively. You can't turn it over. You got to take better care of the ball. If I'm Indiana, I'm trying to accentuate my positives against Miami. And if I'm Miami, you can't just have LeBron James and Dwayne Wade go nuts in the fourth quarter and carry you. You've got to find somebody who can hit an open shot or at least get an open shot. It seems like LeBron and D-Wade are getting plenty of people's shots. They're just not quite going down. 80-some points for Miami is not where they want to be.
Yeah, really good points. Really good points from you, Mark. I'm going to look at, I think the Miami Heat's defense and their matchups, because you're right, there were some crazy matchups last night. You had Ray Allen guarding Scola. I mean, they were doing some crazy stuff. And one thing you saw in that game, the adjustment Spoelstra did was he put LeBron James, I'm trying to think, I think he put him on George Hill and then a little bit on C.J. Watson just because he wanted to make LeBron James a floater. Like you saw, I remember the Lakers did this, and I think it was 2008. With Rondo, back when Rondo could not do anything on offense. And they put so Kobe could float and do different things and help out different areas. And then I saw the Heat put LeBron in a floater position. So they put him on, somebody offensively who's not going to be a huge threat, nobody too big or anything. And they let LeBron float around. I want to see the Pacers' adjustment to that. And then, to me, the Pacers pick and roll defense, because the difference between Scola and David West, West is a way better offensive player, but the difference between West and Scola is huge on defense. Scola was terrible guarding pick and roll. David West got hit in the eye.
He's European.
There you go. Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Well, I mean, technically not European, but
you know what I mean.
South American.
The way he plays is European.
I got you.
He's got that, the Gasols, the Manu Ginobili type, just like, That's what I see from them. They don't even get to say words or just facial expression. That's
not to get off topic, but I hear European basketball is more dramatic. Like I heard,
it's like soccer.
Yeah, I heard former Razorback Pat Bradley talk about when he played in Europe, and he played for a European coach. Every time the other team scored 2 points, the coach act like somebody got shot. Like, oh, you gave up a basket. Bradley's like, Coach, it's okay. They're gonna score a basket every now and then. It's just funny how dramatic it is. But yeah, he got torched. Scola got torched on pick and roll. David West was the key to that. I think George Hill's got to hit shots. I think, to me, George Hill has to score into double figures, 15 points. Even though, look, we agree he's not very good, I think that's what makes the Pacers dangerous when he is good, because you don't expect it.
Yeah, you saw it in game 1.
Yeah, so George Hill is the guy I'm watching.
Yeah, you saw him hit a whole bunch of threes at the beginning of that game. Left me kind of shaking my head. Is this like, really? Like, is this how? I mean, this is how you have to beat Miami. You have to hit all these stupid shots. But Miami is for the last 3 years. It's just been weird the way that they can guard and get in passing lanes, but they do gamble a lot and to try to get those steals, and they give up some open shots, and their rotation's sometimes a little slower, and they try to stick in. They try to either blow you out early or stick in a game to where LeBron and D-Wade can pull it out in the end, and it's been pretty good for them. 2 out of the last 3 years they've won championships, but I don't know. So we'll see if Indiana can figure out some way to win Game 3, which, like we said, I believe that's a must-win for them. They don't want to go down 2-1, and then they definitely don't want to go down 3-1 in Miami. They want to get that home court back for themselves going into Game 4 or going into Game 5 back at Indiana. Looking at the Western Conference Finals, San Antonio thrashed Oklahoma City in Game 1. Just a clinic, and Weldon calls it clinic mode, and that's exactly what the San Antonio Spurs did to the Oklahoma City Thunder in Game 1. My inkling was correct in that Tony Parker ain't hurt. Now he may be a little dinged up, but he ain't hurt, and we'll see in Game 2 tonight if Oklahoma City can even it up.
Where's my pencil? Because I'm hearing a lot of Oklahoma City talk. I was like, not so fast. And Malik Corso. Look, the Spurs, I expect the Spurs to win tonight. I expect them to win last night. But I still think there is a series in here somewhere to be had. Just because, for me, Oklahoma City is kind of like the Clippers series. They can, when they just play and when they figure something out, like you may fool Oklahoma City. I think that's what happened 2 years ago. Spurs sliced and cut them to death for 2 games. And then the Thunder figured it out. And then once they figured it out, it got kind of ugly. And now no Serge Ibaka, obviously no James Harden. But I even saw it last night. San Antonio railroaded Oklahoma City from the start. And then I'm just watching the game, and Oklahoma City settles in. And I look up in the third quarter, and the Thunder have the lead. I'm like, what's going on? When they lock in and play defense, they don't do it consistently. That's their problem. But when they play that pressure defense, Westbrook is disruptive, making Tony Parker dribble around, and they can't be in clinic mode. The Thunder are still a problem for the Spurs. I still think the Spurs win tonight, but when this thing flips back to OKC, I would not be surprised if that crowd and then the transition game gets going and we still have ourselves a series.
San Antonio got swept in the regular season by Oklahoma City. The Miami Heat got swept by the Brooklyn Nets. We saw how that worked out.
You can't compare that.
Saw how that worked out, and we see how San Antonio worked out in Game 1.
Come on.
No, it's not close, but people get a misconception about this series, like Oklahoma City's just a million times better than them because they won a couple years ago, 4-2. They lost the first 2, won the next 4. I don't know why. I told you guys on Wednesday on the phone. I don't know why or how, but I just feel like San Antonio, they know what they're doing. They figured something out somewhere and along the lines of this season, how to, the perfect formula, the perfect buttons to push to get back to a championship series. And they worry me too if I'm the Miami Heat. And, they've got plenty of work left with Indiana, but
so you got a sweep. You got Spurs and a sweep.
I think Oklahoma City will find a way. Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook are too good, but Tim Duncan, 27 points and 7 rebounds. This dude is in his last year. He's 20. I mean, he's what, 37 years old, something like that. 38.
Yeah.
He scored 27 points. He understands this is it for him. This is the last run for him. And yeah, Manu Ginobili, I think he's still flopping somewhere.
Yeah.
But I've just been impressed with Tim Duncan, with Tony Parker, with Coach Pop, and the San Antonio Spurs. I think they're going to win this series like I originally had that inkling. There's no real explanation because at the end of the day, San Antonio doesn't have Kevin Durant. They don't have Russell Westbrook. But Tim Duncan and Tony Parker are good enough.
Yeah, I mean, let's slow down the runaway train on the infallible San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, well, they're not infallible.
We've seen what they look like when they have issues. Their issues are when teams get in their shirt, when they jump and suffocate those passing lanes, when they get out in transition, make them look like the YMCA team that they've somehow avoided not looking like. And I think Oklahoma City, dialing it up on defense, can make this a whole different series. I'm not putting them to bed because Serge Ibaka is out.
I am. That's why I am.
They have no answer for Russell Westbrook. They have no answer for Kevin Durant. They're scoring a ton of points, but again, I saw Oklahoma City effortlessly take the lead in the third quarter. I think Scott Brooks has to do some things on his end to make sure that lineup plays more. That is a problem, but again, the Thunder, they figure people out. Like the Clippers outcoached them, the Spurs outcoached them, but once you figure some things out as star players, then usually your talent can get you back in a series and get you over the top. I still think Oklahoma City is going to make a run in this series.
I like it. I like this disagreement. It works for us. So tonight we've got Oklahoma City, San Antonio, Oklahoma City in a big one because they're in the exact same position that the Miami Heat were in. If they can win Game 2, they're going home with a chance to come back and with a stranglehold on the series. So if tonight turns out that the San Antonio Spurs win Game 2, Oklahoma City at best can come back even to San Antonio, and they won't have home court advantage. They've got to win tonight to have the home court advantage the rest of the series unless they want to steal it later on. So it's a very intriguing Game 2 coming up tonight. So we'll look at the Arkansas Razorback baseball program. We're going to go to our final break of the show. The Razorbacks playing in the SEC tournament, the SEC baseball tournament. They'll be first pitch here in just a little bit against Ole Miss.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. You know, we've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
We've got just a few more minutes. Want to look at a couple things. Man, I'm seeing here on Twitter that Lost Letterman is doing a 2004 NBA lottery redraft. I want to see a 2003 NBA lottery redraft. Because think about how things change for your Detroit Pistons if they don't draft Darko. How big a freaking idiot does Joe Dumars have to be to draft Darko when you've got Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh? Just two handfuls of people who don't suck that you could draft, and you get Darko Milicic. I love to see that.
Yeah, I would love to see an 03 redraft.
How does that change the history of the NBA?
Oh, I would think it would change a lot. I mean, obviously Detroit, they would pick anybody else. I mean, that was a really good year. I mean, people talk about this year's draft. And,
they can't touch that one. I don't
I wouldn't touch it, but I think it has a chance to be the best since then. I mean, because we've seen some bad drafts lately. See last year, which was a very sucktastic draft. I mean, that was one of the worst. I mean,
I like that word. That's good.
I mean, that draft was awful. I mean, I know it's early; they can pan out, but we knew those players weren't very good coming into the draft. It won't touch 03, but I think it could be the best since then.
It would definitely be really, really good. So I've tweeted at Lost Letterman something about how, man, you should do 03 because what does Detroit do at number 2? How does that change history? And they said Melo or Wade, ? I'd take Wade even though his days are numbered. I think they're talking about trading them right now. I would go back and do it over.
You got to do what the team
and
look
then you
like.
see how things go. That would because the Detroit Pistons back then, man,
championship team.
Yeah, you put D Wade on that team instead of Rip Hamilton.
Yeah.
That's an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can carry on into the next level. They may not have fallen off into oblivion the way they did.
Yep. So that's interesting. We hadn't talked a lot about this, and we didn't talk about it on Monday, I don't think, unless y'all talked about it after I got off the air. Donald Sterling, he's an idiot. Yes. We know this. All the stuff that he said about the blacks or about the whatever.
The blacks, the Jews,
the AIDS.
The AIDS.
God, that guy, man, 80-some years old. Somebody talk to him about Jesus because he needs to die. He just needs to go ahead because honestly, he's killing himself.
You know, every time I've seen Donald Sterling on camera, his hair is a different color. You know, it's gray and he'll dye and it's back to being brown. Then it's like in between and just a mixed bag.
The NBA is now alleging that Donald Sterling tried to get V. Stiviano to say she'd altered the audio of the recording published by TMZ, documents obtained by the Los Angeles Times show. I'm reading here on ESPN.com. Just another level of stupid for the Los Angeles Clippers and disgraced owner Donald Sterling, his wife Shelly Sterling, who she's not going to be able to get her name on this team either. Her 50% stake is going to go bye-bye. They're not estranged. Even if they get a divorce, it's for show. It's a joke. He's trying to keep himself in the ownership here of the Los Angeles Clippers. It's not going to work. They got to get rid of him.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be messy. I think what we've seen the last few days, the NBA officially levying charges against Sterling, pointing out all the things they're accusing him of. And then obviously Sterling's going to counter. They're going to sue. And then if they get a divorce, it'll be drugged through the court. So, for me, if you're one of these players who, you're waving your fists saying, if I don't see a change, I'm not playing. If you're in that position, you got to understand that the NBA is maxing out what it can do.
Yeah.
And so come next fall, Donald Sterling's name will probably still be on the Clipper name as far as the owner in official capacity. He won't be near the team. He won't be in any facilities or anything. But as far as his official removal, you got to understand that's not going to take place anytime soon, and understand the league is doing the most it can do.
Well, finally, before we get out of here, got to look at the Razorback baseball program as they are taking on Ole Miss today. They got a 4-0 win yesterday against Texas A&M to stay alive in the SEC tournament to move into the double elimination portion of the bracket. My question for you, Weldon, is we know Arkansas is going to be in the NCAA tournament. Now we know they're going to be a 3 seed at worst, most likely, and they can play themselves up to a 2 seed at best.
Right.
2 seeds play 3 seeds, and 3 seeds play 2 seeds. So what
Neutral
difference
field,
does it really make? You're going to have to beat a 1 anyway. You want to probably try to be in the weakest regional as possible so that you can possibly beat a 1 seed. So in other words, you want to avoid one of the national seeds if you can. But where's the balance for the Razorbacks as far as keeping people healthy, getting people back some rest and that type of thing, or going deep in this SEC tournament? What's the ideal situation for the Razorback baseball team?
Well, it's really interesting with Arkansas. Normally you would think a team in their position, they would always opt for the rest if they can get it. And this may be the case in this particular situation, but I think there is something to be said for you have guys who are coming off injury, like a Baxendale, and so they do have some guys who they don't want their first competitive live reps to be in an elimination situation, SEC tournament. So, if you can make it till later in the tournament where, a guy like a Baxendale can get some at-bats and can get acclimated to some competitive at-bats and competition, then you do it. You don't want to burn out your arms, though. I don't think there's any great value in winning an SEC tournament, as aside from the fact Arkansas, it's not something they've done recently. But in the end, I think if you can get your guys coming off injury some at-bats, it's fine. But if not, you lose. Certainly the rest is something that's never a bad thing either.
Yeah, I would kind of I was listening to some folks talk about the Razorback baseball team and what do you do with this and what do you do with that as far as guys coming back off injury. I would love to see those guys get reps.
Right.
If I'm Dave Van Horn, knowing I'm going to the tournament, I'm getting everybody that I want reps. If we win, great. If we lose, who cares? We're going to the tournament anyway. I'm getting reps for the guys who need it, rest for the guys who need it. I'm going to pitch to win, obviously, but you want to set up your pitching so that you'll be all right. And Trey Killian going yesterday, shutout for the Razorback baseball team. What he was part of a shutout. He didn't go the complete game, but you got your star pitcher set up for the next little step here, and then you hope you can get a guy like Jalen Beeks back for the regional. So if I'm the Razorbacks, like you said, I'm trying to get folks their run. I'm trying to get the other guys that need it their rest, and I'm trying to just do what I can to make myself look as good as possible so I don't get stuck in a National Seeds regional.
Yeah, and I think the difference between the A&M game and from the Ole Miss game on forward is you're secure in the NCAA tournament. You may have been secure going into the A&M game, but you weren't for sure. I think the win over an A&M team that had been playing pretty well as of late was enough to get you in. So now that's not as much of a concern as it was before.
Yep. All right. Well, we're gonna hit the road for the day. That's all the time we've got for today. I'm looking at my notes to make sure I don't have anything else to mention. We want to talk on Friday about Derek Fisher possibly being a New York Knicks head coaching candidate. That's the news as of right now. It looks like Michael Sam took our advice from last week. He's getting out of that TV show, which was a terrible idea to film a documentary/reality TV show right there on the heels of trying to make a team.
Keeping up with Michael Sam.
Keeping up with the Sams. Oh, Lord. Anyway, remember the Cyclone send-off Friday at 2:30. We'll try to remind you again. And buy your tickets to the Brightest Stars Banquet while you can. That's next Thursday, May 29th. 6 o'clock at Russellville High School's cafeteria. That's all the time we've got for today. For Weldon and Maddie, I'm Mark saying so long. We'll see you at 11 o'clock on Friday at rivervalleyleader.com.